Good morning. I'm practitioner Jean Watson. Today's reading is by Reverend Jesse Jennings, sorry. Could have been. When Ernest Holmes taught, man never creates, he discovers and uses. He meant this to feel supportive by lessening our workload. Everything new is actually a recombination of existing parts into a new whole. No wheels need to be reinvented. Love is, beauty is, enlightenment is. The table has been laid, and we partake of what is on it. Trees, for instance, were here when we got here. Today we choose to admire them, sit under them, plant more of them, and so on. We select our experience. Something larger furnished the template. We fill it in. Let us agree then that through this discovery and use, we co-create by our interior awareness. And our affirmation, I will read through one time and then we will say it together. I am free to create that which is meaningful for me.
I am free to create that which is meaningful for me.
And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Jean.
Good morning, I'm Joseph Salek, the music director here. And this morning it's a pleasure to be welcoming and introducing Sean Buckley. Sean Buckley is a dear musical brother. He and I have been playing together for probably at least 15 years. Sean is also a talented woodworker and is also doing violin and other string instruments repairs. He's been participating here at the Everyday Center for probably a good 3+ years. I'm not sure how long. He's a wonderful singer, songwriter, guitar player, and it's a pleasure to have him this morning. Please join me in welcoming Sean Buckley.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me again. It's always a treat to get to sing with you and be here with you, and of course, any opportunity to get to hang with Joseph is great. And I'm not going to fall asleep this time. I have fallen asleep a few times playing, but sitting down. So this tune we're going to do was written by Gretchen Parlato, who's a daughter of David Parlato, a bass player who okay, well, I'm not sure if he's still in Albuquerque or not, but a fabulous musician. Anyways, his daughter's wonderful too, and I kind of forgot about her, and Joseph turned me on to this song. So
I knew him when he went to see his daughter play at Carnegie.
Oh, wow. So I'm gonna make an attempt to do this song justice. So the song is called All There Inside. If you sit right down, and if you start rolling up your sleeves, and put your hands in the dirt, and follow roots to the tallest trees, 'cause if you dig right down, realize where you're coming from, and feel it in your soul. Imagine all that you become, 'cause it's all there inside, all there inside of you, 'cause it's all there inside, all there inside of you, 'cause it's all there inside, all there inside of you, 'cause it's all there inside. Keep your head in the clouds, or settle down here onto the earth. Stand on your own 2 feet, so that you're digging all that you're worth. You gotta dig right down. Your garden won't grow in just a day, so then dig your hands in the dirt, making room for what needs to stay. 'Cause it's all there inside, all there inside of you, all there inside, all there inside of you. 'Cause it's all there inside, all there inside of you, all there inside. Because you blossom in the sunlight, it takes water to grow. Gotta feed your soul, and these times they are a-changing, sprinkling seeds to sow, spreading all you know. Beep bop bop bop. Beep bop beep bop beep dong dong dong. Bop wee bop wham. Wee bop wah 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 wah. Cause you blossom in the sunlight, it takes water to grow. Gotta feed your soul, and those times they are a-changing, sprinkling seeds to sow, sharing all you know. 'Cause it's all there inside, all there inside of you, all there inside of you, all there inside of you. 'Cause it's all there inside, all there inside of you, all there inside, all there inside, all there inside, all there inside of you, all there inside of you. 'Cause it's all there inside, all there inside, all there inside of you.
Well. Woo. So do we have any doubt that it's all there inside of us? No. Woo. little mood lighting. Good morning every day.
Good morning.
And how happy am I to look out and see all of your smiling faces, all of your shining eyes, your healing bodies. Anyone who found their way here on Facebook, on Zoom, in the room, oh my gosh. From my heart, I welcome you. The snow is so magical to me. Now you could chalk that up to being from LA. Because I only remember I remember once when I was really little, it snowed at our house in the San Gabriel Valley. I have pictures to remind me. And I remember a couple of times when it snowed in weird places like Valley Hills and stuff, but otherwise forget about it. It just doesn't get cold enough. And this morning, when the snow first started to fall, and it was just these little tiny, tiny, tiny snowflakes that you could barely see. And it was so quiet. Oh my God. It was its own heavenly gift. Just that moment of being, which is what the song is about that you were treating us with this morning, Sean and Joseph. It was about being in it, not just observing, but being in it and feeling in it and feeling it in me. And in case, well, there's a couple of you who haven't been here for quite a while, and so I'll just remind you, I'm Reverend Ann Rea, and I'm very blessed to serve this community, my spiritual family, as its senior minister. So we've been talking this month about stuff we make up and you know, these myths that run in families that go from generation to generation. And so I thought I'd get right down to the heart of that today by talking about in my family. Now, this isn't just about my family. I know you'll be sorry for me to announce that. Because if you've already moved to the edge of your seat, sit back and relax. Not that if it was all about my family, there would be reason to move to the edge of your seat anyway. But this thing about it runs in the family, whatever it is. You know, that expression isn't typically used about anything good. Have you noticed? It's typically used about things like disease, right? Or bad choices, or questionable habits. And we wonder where those things come from. We wonder where the idea of whatever it is running in the family comes from? Well, it comes from gathering evidence, right? Because, you know, even when we go to a doctor of Western medicine, and maybe others as well, and they're talking with us about our family history, they want to know things like, you know, did anybody in your family have heart issues? Did anybody in your family have cancer? What kind of cancer did they have? How closely related were they to you? They're not asking you about blue eyes. They're not asking you about your singing voice. They're not asking you about your strength and your wisdom and your capabilities. They're asking you about stuff you don't want to have. So it's not a wonder. I do have to admit, and believe me, he didn't get this from me, but from very early on in his children's lives, my son would say to them, "Oh, you get that from me," or "You get that from my side of the family." Oh, I like that microphone. And about a third of the time, no, maybe a fourth of the time, it was complimentary. And if it was complimentary, it was about interest. It was about, you know, if the kids showed particular interest in certain things, like sports activities or even certain TV shows, I hate to admit it, he would say, "Well, you get that from me." I had no idea where he got it from. Out of the ethers, I think. And all of those ideas, now are there genetic issues? Sometimes, right? There are genetic issues sometimes, and that's a fact. That's not a myth, that's a fact. But when it comes to skill sets, when it comes to our authentic selves and how we reveal our authentic selves and the choices that we are inspired to make, the things that we are inspired to learn, often that's a singular activity. Unless we had someone in our lives, it could have been a parent, it could have been a grandparent, as you all know. It could have been a teacher, it could have been a close friend that did something, that was engaged with something, that was fascinated by something, where it fascinated us too. Because we were curious. But it doesn't mean it was inherited. You know, just because my grandmother was a fabulous cook, and she was, doesn't mean that I inherited my love for good food and my love for preparing it from her. Because her style of cooking was very different than anything I did or would do as I grew up. She was a meat and potatoes gal. Great meat, great potatoes, tomatoes off the vine that my great-grandfather would put gravy on. He must have gotten that from somebody. But these myths perpetuate. And so what I suggest is if any of us who are participating in this service in any way or who happen to see it later have any of that stuff hanging around where we find ourselves thinking, oh, I wonder if that runs in the family. Or maybe I can't change this about myself. Maybe I can't change my mind about this thing in my life because it runs in the family. I'm here to tell you that is nonsense. Fool you. It's nonsense. Because there comes a time, and there's someone watching online this morning that's just going to hate it when I say this, but there comes a time when it becomes a choice. Yep. There comes a time, and you know when that time is? When we become conscious of it. Right. When we become aware that before we step into this behavior, before we step into this habit, before we step into whatever it is, we're at a crossroads. We're at a threshold. And we have a choice to make. And not only do we have a choice, we have a responsibility for that choice.
Right.
Because now it's ours. We can't push it off on anybody anymore. Once we become aware. And awareness is such a fabulous, empowering thing.
Yes.
That's right, Patty.
Yes.
You tell them.
I will.
It's such an empowering thing because once we're aware, once we're awake, once we're alive in our lives in that way, then we can look at things as the observer. And there is an observer in each one of us, a witness that has no attachment. It's part of our divine wisdom. You know, the one life, the one power, the one presence that is my life and our life now, that. And we can take a step back and take a different look at whatever it is that we're considering, and we can intentionally, these are all big words, and by big, I mean powerful. We can intentionally look at a choice that's before us, a decision that's before us, a threshold that's before us, whatever we want to call it, that makes us more comfortable, we can intentionally look at it and go, is that really true for me right now? Is that who I am anymore? Forget about whether or not it was ever who you were. Is it who you are now? Because what are we every day? New. Well, 5 of you are new. What are we every day? New. Thank you very much. So with new eyes, with a new awareness of our own wisdom, our own intuition, our own sensitivity to what is a match and what isn't, what is aligned with who it is that we need to be today and what isn't. We can look at it with those eyes, which doesn't imply criticism. You never heard me say anything about criticism. It implies clarity. It implies taking a moment. You know, I love when God shows up. Oh my goodness. And for those of you who didn't hear it, somebody's phone just rang.
The best already.
Yes.
We get to choose again. We get to look again. And let's say that we don't realize in a moment, we forget to plug into our wisdom. We forget that we can call on the witness. We can call on our objectivity and look at something differently. We forget. And here we are at the threshold, and our foot is right here. And the threshold is right under the arch of our foot. Y'all with me? It's right under the arch of our foot. We've already kind of committed, but not completely. Because we realize halfway across the threshold that this isn't what we mean. Oh, what do we do then? We draw our foot back to this side of the threshold and we reevaluate. And even if we don't realize that because we're unconscious in the moment, and that happens, we don't realize until we've already crossed the threshold that here we are again, standing in the same kind of decisions that we have made before that were not supportive of our well-being. It's okay. It's okay. Everybody breathe. It's okay. Because we get to do it again. First of all, we don't have to stay there. We find ourselves in having made a choice, having made a decision, having evaluated something in a certain way and drawn conclusions about it, and then we go, well, wait a minute. That isn't who I am anymore. That isn't how I think anymore. That isn't how I want to reveal the divine in me, in the world. So what do I do now? And that is one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourselves, is what do I do now? Because it's not about then. Whether then was years ago, really, for those of you who are still hauling around a red wagon from years ago, I'm telling you, it's not about years ago, and it's not about 5 minutes ago. It's about now. Because every single now we start over.
Yes.
Good job, Patty.
Nobody else was gonna say it.
Every single now we start over. It's just up to us to remember. Every single now. And it doesn't matter which decade we're living in or which decade we feel like we're living in. It doesn't, none of that matters. What matters is, what do we do now? I attended a fabulous workshop years ago that was all about giving up on apologies and explaining. It was fabulous. And there are many things from that workshop that I remember with great clarity. Not the least of which was, it's not important what you did. What's important is what are you going to do next time? What are you going to do now? Now, you know, if we've hurt someone's feelings, if somehow we have done something that has wounded another person, then would it feel appropriate to apologize?
Yeah.
Of course. But his point was, the apology is not where the gold is. The gold is in saying to the other person, and next time I'll do better. Next time I'll take this into consideration. Next time I'll ask you your opinion. Next time. That indicates awareness. Because we're not just like my grandchildren used to do for years. We're not just to everything saying, sorry. Sorry. What are you sorry for? Well, blah, blah, blah. No. How are you going to do it differently next time? Because if all you're going to do is say, sorry, you haven't gotten the message. You know, there are some teachers who have for years been talking about everything has a lesson. And these, in my opinion, these generational beliefs that some of us are carrying around, whichever ones they are loaded with them. But it's not the kind of lesson that whoever the deliverer was of that particular myth, it's not the kind of lesson they intended. It's the kind of lesson that we need in order to look at what we believe about ourselves to be true. I can't tell you what to believe. As shocking as that is. I cannot tell you what to believe. I can tell you what I believe. And that I do. I can help you question what you believe. And that I do. Now, do you do it? In my opinion, that is the biggest challenge of actually making changes in our lives is really being willing to take a gentle, loving, but clear look at what it is that we believe and whether or not we live it. What I know for sure is that every single one of us is living whatever it is that we believe as best we can today. What are you going to do next? How can you take what it is that you say you believe, what it is that you feel you believe, what it is that you say you want to believe, how can you take all of that? It's like cookie dough. How can you take all of that and actually apply it? Because it's no good if we don't use it. It's only as good as our use of it. Thank you, Ernest Holmes. It's only as good as our use of it. And it's only as good in us and through us as we allow it to be. Me resist my good? Me argue about whose job it is to control a situation? Me do any of those things? No.
Tell them, sister.
I will, Deanna Joy. Some of us, if not most of us, do it all. We argue about who's gonna fix something, who's gonna control something, and how it's going to be. We argue about whether or not we have responsibility. We argue about what it is that we believe and whether or not we believe it enough to actually apply it to make a difference in our lives.
Right.
We don't argue with other people. All of this happens in here. We have it, the song that Sean and Joseph did, the key words were, we have it all inside. And that includes all of those arguments. We have them all inside. What if, now just hang on to your seats for a second, because I didn't tell you earlier to put on your seatbelts, so just hang on. What if, for a week, until we see each other again, what if for a week we decided to do it differently? We decided to give what we believe a shot at actually showing up for us in great and glorious ways that we can't even begin to imagine. What if, just for a week, I don't want to push your limits here, just for a week, this is a big one, we gave up control. We just surrendered the idea, the wish for, the desire to have control over anything. accept our decision to do that, because that is what we control. In truth, that is what we control. Not somebody else's choices, not somebody else's behavior, not something else out there in the world. What we control, what I control, I'll just speak for myself, is standing right here. I'm it. So what if just for a week we experimented? Oh, this is good. Just treat it like an experiment. I'm not asking you to make a commitment. Just treat it like an experiment and see what happens. See what happens. Try not to be afraid now. I promise it'll be okay. I promise. I promise. And if you get really afraid, or it all feels cockeyed and crazy to you, you know where to find me. And so it is. So it is.
Sorry about this thing. I got distracted by those beautiful words. As a soft rain fills the stream, as the streams fill the rivers of flow to the ocean. May the power of every moment of your goodness flow forth to heal all beings. Those here now, those to come, yet to come, those gone before. May your goodness heal all beings. Those here now, those to come, yet to come, those gone before. May your goodness heal all beings. the strength of your goodness, goodness to heal by the power of your goodness, by the surety of this moment. Those here now, those to come, those gone before. May your goodness heal our beings. Those here now, those to come, those gone before. May your goodness heal our beings. May your goodness heal our beings. Goodness flows forth, goodness heals. 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 Goodness flows forth, goodness
What's she doing up there again? Would the ushers join me, please? I better put these in a basket. Oh, there. Seeds. This is the time for our conscious giving. What in the world does that mean? What is conscious giving? Stand this way with me so that I can see everybody. Thank you. And then I'm going to have you come back over so I can bless you. What is conscious giving? Being aware. Being aware. And also making a decision. Because, as you well know, or I believe you well know, the Everyday Center for Spiritual Living is completely donation funded. And not only do every one of your contributions of any kind, time, talent, treasure, make a difference in the sustainability and the vitality of this community. It makes a difference in the good that we can do, that we can extend out to the world from here. So conscious giving is having an awareness about that. And why do we give? Why do we give? Well, some of us grew up in faith traditions that spend a lot of time talking about tithing, right?
Yes.
Do you all know what tithing is? Well, I know what some of you may think it is, but it's not that. So tithing began, it didn't have a name then, but tithing began as a decision that indigenous peoples made in ancient times to turn back into the soil 10% of their harvest as a way of supporting a healthy next harvest and also a way of expressing their gratitude because their harvest was a gift. They felt, they believed their harvest was a gift. Every bean, every ear of corn, all of it was a gift. And so turning 10%, give or take, because they didn't exactly count it out, you know, back into the soil was a way of honoring the process. Now, when we come here, when we participate in the Everyday Center of Spiritual Living as our spiritual family, we aren't walking off with ears of corn. Although we could. We aren't walking off with any kind of a tangible harvest. What our intention is, as a spiritual center, is that we all walk away with something of value to us,
Right.
to each of us. And it may be completely different for every single person, but the intention is, I mean, maybe the most valuable thing that anybody receives while they're here is a hug, because they really need a hug today. And maybe it's the music. And maybe even sometimes it's something I say. Potentially.
Tell them to start.
It's food.
That we walk away feeling nurtured in some way. Conscious giving is about gratitude for that and nurturing that in return so that the harvest continues.
Yes.
The healthy community continues. So now, when we say these words that we say every single Sunday, and I might just change them up sometime just to make you think about it. Anyway, when we say these words that we say every single Sunday, I really want you to think about them. I want you to think about them. I want you to take them in. I want you to sing out Louise. I want you to really feel the intention behind these words. Would you join me, please, after I bless these lovely people for doing this very precious job, this very blessed job of being the collectors of intentions, of treasure, of giving of their time and hearts for this sacred service. The love of
The
Spirit
love of Spirit
blesses and multiplies
all that I am,
all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive abundantly. And so it is. To abundantly, I would add equally.